Hello, guys, and welcome to another stream of Worldwide F1. It's your host, Matt, back again, and I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Wayne Moulds. How you doing, my friend?
I'm better this time because it's working. So I can finally go to do properly than last time. But I'm
Yes.
good. I'm glad. I've got lots to catch up on, and yeah, it's been interesting for sure. And obviously we're going to do the tier list, will be good as well. So yeah, it'd be good. It's going to be a good stream.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I can hear you. You can hear me. So it's a good start straight away
Yeah.
compared to the last stream. Apologies for that, guys. I don't think we actually figured out why it happened. It was just StreamYard being StreamYard on the day, which is typical when it was one of our first streams back in a couple of weeks. But Nippin did a good job standing in for Wayne. Obviously, no one can replace Wayne, but it is what it is. Well done to Nippin for that.
Thank you,
Um,
Nippon.
so we'll start off. Obviously, we've got, as you see in the title, we are going to do a tier list. Obviously, it is summer break. There's no races going on, so we can't talk about the racing. So we're going to do a tier list on the current Formula One tracks. We'll talk about some of the previous ones and potentially some ones that we would want in the next few years in Formula One, potentially, should certain tracks go. But first, we will talk about some of the news that's been happening over the last week or two, because obviously, because of last week's antics, I wasn't able to speak to Wayne about some of this news, and I know Wayne is dying to talk about certain parts of the news. So we'll get right into it. So let me share my screen because we've got to see the articles for themselves. So we'll start with McLaren and who they may be signing. Obviously, to you guys, it is old news now, but sorry for that. Obviously, issues last week, we couldn't speak to it live, but obviously, Fernando Alonso was leaving Alpine. It was thought that Oscar Piastri would just come right in. Alpine even announced it, but in classic F1 style, F1 doesn't always work out like that. And Oscar Piastri himself come out and said, "No, I'm not signing with Alpine. I'm already signing with someone else next year." And that has all but confirmed to be McLaren. Apparently, they have now, according to the Mirror, agreed a deal with with McLaren to sign next year. Um, and it is agreed that Daniel Riccardo will be offered a significant payoff to leave McLaren, so Piastri will come in next year, and he was supposed to race with Ocon at Alpine, but now is expected he will replace Ricciardo and race with Norris next season. So Wayne, what do you think about that?
I'm quite excited by it. Um, it's a deal. He's a very excitable driver. There's a lot of expectation really on him. He did. They've been putting him like George Russell and Charles Leclerc, saying he's going to be as good as them. So if that's true, that's a big deal, big for us. But this is a typical McLaren move in the motorsport. If people will watch IndyCar, they realise of late there's been an uproar with IndyCar because Alex Palou, who is the world champion there, he's team Chip Ganassi wanting him to sign a new deal, but he's going to sign a deal with McLaren, and they've said, no, you're on deal with us, you're not going to McLaren, and there's been an uproar over that as well. So this is not the first time McLaren's done this in a motorsport era. It's a good deal. I love Ricciardo. I think his personality, the shoey, everything is just brilliant, and he's a really good driver. But it hasn't clicked at McLaren. He's just, for some reason, he can't get the full potential of his driving ability in the car. You can see that with Norris. Sometimes he's up there with Norris when it comes to qualifying that, but there's a big gap sometimes. I've seen Norris climb up to fourth, and there's Ricciardo in 15th or 16th, and it's just that is something what needs to be breached because Lando he can't do it on his own. If we want to be, I think, fourth or climb to the top three and get in the world as a team. We need to do better. So for me, it's a upgrade, but not because it's saying he's a bad driver, but because Oscar Piastri's got so much potential. It's a I think it's the youngest pairing as well. From right, you probably know it's better than me, but it'd be the youngest pairing in the Formula One.
Yeah, I don't think I can remember a younger pairing. The only one would Verstappen and Gasly. They were both both young together. I just don't know whether that was young enough to be the youngest pairing.
Yeah,
I can't remember many others, especially back in the old days. It was Formula One drivers are getting younger and younger compared to the old days. So
yeah.
it wouldn't be a surprise. Let's just put it that way. If it is, I don't know that for sure. And obviously, as you mentioned, Riccardo is going to leave McLaren. That does seem quite likely at the moment. Now, to where he goes is a question. The obvious pick, and it has been confirmed, as I will show in the article now, according to Sky Sports, and this comes from Omar Schwartzner. I don't know how to pronounce the name. It's the one name in Formula One I can't do. He has confirmed himself that he would have no issue in bringing Daniel Ricciardo back should Oscar Piastri not drive for them next season. Obviously, Alpine, as it says, Alpine have been in the centre of the driver market drama, and it looks like Ricciardo could go back. Although, as you kindly reminded me before, Wayne, there is rumours that he might not even go there at all, and it could be someone else going there. So, would you be able to fill us in on the news?
Yeah, obviously I'm not going to be able to put it up, but the news is Pierre Gasly, who everyone's know he's been linked with Alpine. He's a French driver, French lineup. They were like that at Alpine, and he's not been happy this year with the AlphaTauri. That it hasn't really been performing to the level he expects. So there's a big rumor that he could go to replace Alonso there, and Ricciardo is a big rumor as well that he could go to Williams and partner with Albon next year.
Yeah, I mean that would be a typical Formula One driver merry-go-round. It's never so easy as one driver goes one way and one driver goes another. It normally is a three-way, a four-way, a five-way, whatever way F1 want to do it. Personally, I think going down that far, I think it's too much for Ricciardo. I don't think Ricciardo would want to go down that far. I can understand the Gasly kind of rumor, as you said, French on French suits Alpine down to a T. But then again, Ricciardo's worked in. I know it's not Renault anymore, but it basically was Renault before. So he's worked with most of the staff in there, and obviously has a good relationship with them. So I could see both. Personally, I've never really liked Gasly that much, if I'm honest. So, and as much as Ricciardo, I don't think he's performing well. Everyone kind of likes Ricciardo as a person. I don't think that. I think he's almost like the Kante of Formula One, in a way. No, I don't think anyone dislikes Daniel Ricciardo. So, I think I'd much rather him go to Alpine and drive with Ocon rather than Gasly. And I feel like Gasly would want to try and be number one, but I feel like Ocon is probably going to. I don't know. Alpine's a bit strange because you'd expect. I don't know. I like Ocon, so I'd say Ocon would be number one, but
It's a strange. It is like you said. It's a strange the way they've worked. In the years gone by, when it was Renault, it was always Alonso was the lead driver, and when he left, I can't remember like who was it, but they never have an outstanding lead driver in their team. They always had an equal balance. Ricardo would be like you said, a smart choice going back there because he knows the team and I think he was a partner with Ocon as well. The last year where he with Renault, I think he was with Ocon.
And
Um,
he was comfortable there. He was racing well.
he was racing, he was comfortable, and he had a good relationship with the Renault guys. But it like I said, it wouldn't surprise me with Gasly. I know he's a Marmite sort of person. You can either love him or hate him. He's for me, he has done some good stuff, especially with the AlphaTauri. But for me, he needs to stop being in his safety zone. He needs to try something different. Like Riccardo has done that. If Riccardo wanted to be safety, he would have stayed with Red Bull's side, but he's gone and moved on to different brands, different engines, and trying to make something for himself. So yeah, I think Gasly needs to do that. I think he might, but if that is about Ricciardo going Williams, it would be a drop for him. I'd rather Ricciardo try his arm in IndyCar or Formula E. He could go in Formula E because the McLaren are doing the Formula E team next year. So there's some options there for him. It's not like he's got no options. And if he goes to Formula E, I wouldn't be surprised to see him winning races.
Yeah. And I think it's one of them ones where obviously climate change and all that, they're trying to make everyone wants to make F1 and Formula E work. I think it does. Formula E does need that kind of one driver that is not carrying the sport, but pushing it up to the next level for it. I'm not going to be rude, but Lewis Hamilton has done for the last few years in terms
Yeah.
of F1, and Michael Schumacher's done before, and then you can go up through the legends, etc., etc. But maybe, obviously, it might seem silly to say Daniel Ricciardo is going to do that, but he would be much better than most of the Formula E drivers that are in there. And he would bring. He's that character that would bring something to the game. That would be nice to see, and it'd be nice to see a Shoei every other week.
Exactly.
Moment where it's like once every 2 years. But there you go. Anything else you wanted to say about the Oscar Piastri Ricciardo stuff?
No, the one thing I did want to say is for Alpine, it's a mess. They are the ones that are looking really bad out of this because Alonso, someone you look at Alpine, you think you got respect for, came out and just went to Aston Martin and like disregarded everything at Alpine that moment. And then Alpine's come out and said they were going to have the reserve driver who everyone wants is going to be our driver next year. Then he's come out and said, no, I'm not. I'm signed for another team. It just looks so messy for them. And as you know this, Matt, as much as I do, in F1 when it looks messy, it's not good publicity for that team in F1. And that's the problem.
Not. I think that whole announcing it and then Piastri coming out minutes later saying no, it's like, come on, that's literally rule number one. Why? I don't really. I don't know what's more baffling: Ferrari's strategy or Alpine's announcements. It's just like,
Yeah.
both. I can't tell which one's more baffling than the other. They're that bad. But yeah, it is a funny thing. It's a shame because Alpine, I think they've done very well this season on the track.
Yeah.
I do think they probably deserve more points than they've got, and they have been a bit unlucky at times. I think they've shot themselves in the foot a little bit between Ocon and Alonso themselves, because I think that's why Alonso's not there anymore, because I just don't think he gets on with Ocon enough. And you know what Alonso's like. When he falls out of a driver, that's him done.
We know that.
We know that from everyone's sides. I think everyone in Formula One at some point has dealt with an Alonso falling out drivers stage. So
I just think my team and your favourite driver, I think he's had the worst of it.
Yes, yeah, I would agree. I disliked Alonso for a long period of time. It took me a long time to forgive him and almost be okay with him driving. But it is what it is. Water under the bridge. He's driving. He's driving well. He's doing well for the sport, which is all I care about. So enough of us waffling about news that happened 2 or 3 weeks ago. Thanks to we will get into the main part of the video, which is our wonderful tier list. So I'll get it up for you guys right now. There you go. Look how wonderful this is, made by myself. Wayne, can you see it on the screen all right?
Yeah, I can see it perfectly. You might want to move the thing at the bottom, but that's it.
Oh.
Worldwide F1.
Ah, yes. I will go on to.
Sip.
There you go. That is perfect. So I did try and make this myself. It took me a long time. We was going to do other tracks outside of this season, but it took me so long to make this season's one. We're just going to talk about that at the end in a different topic. So we will kind of start in the calendar order, because obviously that makes the most dramatical sense. So we'll go through each tier. So at the top, we have elite tracks. These are the best of the best, the most exciting, the best to watch, the ones you look out for in the calendar. The catch is we're only allowed 3 tracks in this category. So we might get to a point where we've got 3 in there already, or 2, and then you realise, oh, actually, we've got ones that we still want to put in there, but can't. I know I've already got definitely 2 tracks in my head that's already in that elite category. So I feel like we will struggle with it, but it'll be a good struggle to have. Underneath, we have good track. It's good, enjoyable, good overtaking. Not quite the elite race, can have an occasional stinker, but it's a good track overall to have. Average track, but enjoyable, is a track that generally it's not great. It's not always. It can very much be a stinker, 50-50, but occasionally it will create a race that is quite good. Something will happen, with which weather or such and such a factor will come into it where the race actually does become enjoyable at times. Needs improvement is one that it's not a great track. It's one that you're almost considering to get rid of, but it's got enough in it that you can say it should be on the calendar itself. And then bin it now is the ones that just simply we do not want on the calendar at all. Wayne, do you understand them tiers?
I do.
Perfect. So we will get started with Bahrain itself. Obviously, Bahrain has been a track that has been in around the first couple of weeks of the Grand Prix, and has recently been added as the first Grand Prix, thanks to, I think it was mainly COVID, but because Australia obviously has had problems with that, so it has since moved. I've just realised I put this in order, and it's since I put it on the screen, it's completely moved out of the order. So there you go. I'm just going to have to completely pick it out myself. So Wayne, where would you put Bahrain on this list?
For me, obviously, because we're talking about this track, not the track with Russell drove with Mercedes for the first time.
No.
I would say it's average because you do have good races, but sometimes a bit dull races, and you're like. So it's always been one of those where, for me, it's an average. It's not bad, but it's not good.
Yeah, I was. This was one of my ones that I was kind of very much to and fro. It was I'm halfway in between. It's a good track and it's an average track, because I have seen moments, especially with, I can remember I remember that race where it was Bottas and Hamilton fighting at the front for a good 4 or 5 laps, and that was just intense, just racing, and that was brilliant to see. And when there is overtaking, it is actually a very good track. And I thought this year it was a good race. There was a lot going on. There was quite a bit of overtaking. But there are times where it can also just be a complete stinker in terms of the overtaking just doesn't happen. So it can be very dependent on weather, in terms of the heat. And I think since it's gone more at the beginning of the year, I actually found it's been better than it has been previously.
Yeah.
I feel like the weather on that time of the year is slightly better for the track and for the cars in general.
And
But
they do free practice. They do practice as well, don't they? Before to get ready for the race as well. What's it called?
yeah,
Testing.
I would, I
Testing.
would, I would probably go obviously where you've said average, and I've kind of been on the fence between the two. I think we all put it in average, but enjoyable, because I think it's a track that I would definitely want to keep on the calendar.
Mm.
Maybe it's one of them tracks as well, as we've seen, that you can make adjustments to it potentially. Should you want to take it out for a year, make adjustments, and then make it into almost a better track potentially.
Mm.
Obviously, it's one that you can work with that, unlike others where it's literally a street that you can't really change at all. Um, so we will go into the next circuit, which, if I'm right, was Australia, wasn't it?
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia, then Australia. That's fine. So Saudi Arabia, obviously, that has been the first year. It was a very controversial race, and in my opinion, very exciting. And then this year it was not so exciting. Uh,
Mm.
Obviously, it's hard with this track because we've only seen it twice, and a couple more of these tracks we've only seen it once. Where would you put it on your list?
For me, it needs improvement. Um, it is a good track, um, but it needs tweaking to make it into, like we said, the first year because it's unknown, it was fighting, but you can see there's still bits to be improved. They try and improve it, but for me, it still needs more improvements to make it more entertaining. Because at the moment, it's some bits are very good to watch, but some bits are like. Oof. So for me, it's still I wouldn't say it's in the middle, but it needs improvement for me.
Yeah, I think both races that they've had, there has been issues with the track. Still the bikes going past. Sorry about that. There has been issues. Obviously, first year it was more the safety aspects because obviously there was a lot of crashes, a lot of dangerous crashes, and there were it was constant safety cars, red flags all over the place, and it did cause some controversy within the championship. Um, that they seemed to fix that aspect as they got into the second year, but then at the same time that took away a lot of the overtakes that was happening around, and it made it a bit more of a boring race. So I think that does need improvements, but at the same time, I think I do see the potential of the track in a way. I think obviously it is only 2 years in, and obviously some of these tracks are very very old, so they've done Formula One for years. They've been there, seen it, done it. They've had improvements to the tracks. They've made changes. And I think it's natural with a track that goes through this. It will have to go through improvements as it goes along. And it might not be great first of all, but at least I see the potential. Whereas there's other tracks on here that I just do not see the potential, and they should be binned right away. Um,
Okay.
so I would. It's nice that we're actually fairly in agreement so far. I feel this will definitely change as we go through,
Mm.
because I think there are some tracks that I've mentioned that you really like, and I go no, and the other way
Yeah.
around. So we will get into it in a little bit. So now we go to finally Albert Park, what used to be the first track of the season, but now is third, which I do find is a bit strange. I don't like it a little bit, but it is what it is. Where would you put Albert Park?
Um, what the improvements they've done to the track for me is it's a good track. It's a because it's now it was always a like it's always been one of those tracks where it could be good or bad because like the first bit of the corners, first three corners are quite exciting to watch, but then it can go a bit of some bits of it. But now what they've done, I think has improved it, and I'll say it's a good track. I wouldn't say it's mind blowing while I'm excited about watching, but I enjoy watching it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think if it wasn't for the new improvements that were made, I would have put it in average, but enjoyable because I think it has been one of them ones where it's a good track. Don't get me wrong, but it is a struggle to overtake at times, and and it has been one of them ones that has been a problem like that for a while. But I think the new changes that they put in were actually very good for the track. It makes the DRS work a lot better. It's just nice. It makes it a bit more of a smoother track, and it created a much better race. So I would put it up into the good track. Obviously, it's not the elite. I don't think it will ever get to that, but it is. I think it is good track, and I think it deserves to be back at the start of the season, as it has been for a while. Because I think it's just tradition for a while to go to Australia for the first one, isn't it, Wayne?
Yeah, it's. I can't remember how long it is, but it was Australia. I think 1 year because of Olympics. I think they changed it, and it was Bahrain started it off then. But and obviously COVID's hit, and since then as well. But majority of the years I've been watching Formula One, it's always been Australia has been the first Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think it just seems I've grown up with Australia being the first Grand Prix, so I think it depends throughout the generations what you prefer, but I would like I don't like I'm one of them people I don't like change unless the change turns out well. I don't like it. I always say no at first. So moving on to the fourth track, and this is the first of two Italian Grand Prix in the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Obviously, it has been a track that's been here in the past. Has come in originally as a track replacing other tracks because of COVID, and has since remained. Wayne, where would you put this track? For me, this was kind of a hard one to me to put.
I know it's going to be controversial, but I'm binning it because I got a lot of respect for the track. I remember what the tragedy there, but for me, it's not enjoyable to watch the circuit. I don't enjoy it. I find it quite dull. So I'm not. It's just my opinion, obviously, but I'm not a big fan of Imola.
Yeah, I think it is. It's hard. I think because you do kind of have to forget the historic aspect of the track, and obviously the inner meaning behind it. Obviously, with the incidents that have happened there, and you do also have to think about what's happened in the recent years, because obviously you don't really want to judge it on cars of years and years and years ago, because they're completely different cars. And I think that's why I think the track's almost struggled a little bit in some people's minds, because I think for the modern Formula One car, I don't think it's a track. It's lost its sign of overtaking a little bit. Where the cars back in the day used to be a lot smaller and more nimble. I think it was much more easier to overtake on this track, where I don't think the improvements have been made to adapt it to a modern Formula One track to allow more overtakes like that. I think there are other tracks that we will mention further along that are in that aspect, and I think I'm done. They cannot be changed, so I will be done with them. I'm going to suggest possibly to put it in needs improvement, because I think there is potential they could improve it, and if they can improve it and adapt it to these more modern Formula One cars, I think we could get that back. But it's up to you. What would you agree, or
You
would
get you get this one, but in the future, I choose Renault if I want to change one.
yeah, that's fine.
Is that fair?
I'll take this one. I'll remember that. We'll remember that for when we go through, because I'm sure there are some that we're gonna struggle, and we're gonna have rows on them. We might have to cancel the channel after this, because we might not make up after it. But there you go. So moving on to the next track, which is Miami. Now I think this is where we're gonna row. This is where we're gonna row, because I hate this track. Bin it now. That's what I'm gonna say. You can't have fake marinas and go in car parks.
I agree, but I agree the circuit obviously is a bit pretentious. in the surroundings and what they've done. But I think we can't, by one race, we can't sit and say bin it straight away and be done with it. I think it does need improving. Um, Obviously, they need to, now they've had the race there and they've seen it, I think they need to change it. I think the atmosphere, I think if you see the potential of it for the F1, I think it's a massive potential there. And I think you know that deep down. I think it's just, it annoys you the fact of the fake water and all that. It just really drives you insane. Um, but if we look at the track on the corners, there's a lot of good stuff there. Like that little chicane where it's tight and they had a lot of incidents there. That is a really good corner for me. The first corner is a decent corner. So for me, it is a lot of potential there. So for me, it's a potential one. I won't say it's been, but it's a potential.
So would you say like needs improvement or
Needs improvement. I
yeah?
wouldn't say it's only further up. I think it's a need improvement.
Yeah, I will sacrifice my Binet and put it in needs improvement, which will start with the bloody marina. Get rid of fake marina. Um, my only issue with it is obviously we know Las Vegas is going to be on the calendar next in the
Yeah.
next couple of years, and they are going to. They seem to be going through an American track period where there's going to be multiple American tracks, and I feel that out of the American tracks, I feel if Las Vegas does really well, I feel like you can't have too many American tracks, and if there was one to go, if the Las Vegas one does well, I think Miami is bottom of the pile personally. But we'll
I know.
kind of get to that when we talk about Austin.
Yeah, I'm near enough on the same boat, but we can't say nothing until we see Las Vegas because it could be anything to our knowledge. We just don't know yet.
Yeah, I feel like the atmosphere at Las Vegas that will be something special going down the strip. Um, that has that kind of nostalgia to it that I'd like to see within Formula One.
Mhm.
But we'll see when we actually see Las Vegas. That'll be an interesting one. Now we go to what is the Formula One testing track, the Catalunya, Barcelona. Um, what do you think of the Catalunya? Obviously, it's a classic track. It's been here for a while. Where would you put it on the list?
Thing is, there's been so many good moments there. Obviously with Rosberg and Hamilton, and there's been other instances, but for me, it's a boring race, and I'm partly in the bin it and partly in need to improve. But the thing is, if I'm going to be totally honest, I wouldn't miss it. If it was off the circuit, I would not miss it.
Yeah, I think the problem with it as well, I think because they do so much testing on the track, and it's a track that out of all of the tracks they know the most because they've tested on it, it means that it is a bit. It's almost it goes a bit stale when it actually comes to the race. Although it's hard because I'm now with these tracks. Some of these tracks, obviously, we've raced at this year already. I kind of keep looking back to the last race, and I actually thought this year's Barcelona race was probably the best we've had by far in years.
Yeah,
So that's kind of clouding my judgment a little bit. I would say with these new regulations, if it's allowing as much overtaking as it did this year, and that stays, I feel like it would move up into even possibly the average track, occasionally enjoyable. I would say still it needs improvements, and it might be a point where it could go in the bin and just stay a testing track. So maybe Formula One just pay Barcelona enough money that they use the track for testing, and maybe they make it so that people can go watch testing and stuff like that. That might be a way to bring in more people to see the new cars in action first time round.
yeah.
Should we say needs improvement? Because I think that kind of is the best of both
I,
worlds for us.
yeah, I think because we're both in the same. Obviously, I'm in bin, you're in the same. So yeah, it's fair. It's fair.
And now we come to a track that I think we potentially could have arguments on. I mean, I'm going to put it where I think it should deserve to be anyway. I'm going to
I
not. I'm going to piss off a lot of traditional F1 fans, but
Uh,
Monaco's a dead track.
I can't disagree with you in the fact that it is a dead track because of the overtaking and the fun of it. It's just the historical significance of the track. It's a hard thing to pass, but this year, what's happened this year, it was a nail in the coffin. And I think we all can agree that as F1 fans, it was atrocious how they dealt with it. The fact that Monaco, I've got their own TV rights and they did a poor job on that as well. It's to me, it's got a yeah, it's got to be in the bin. And I don't want to say it, but I've got to agree with the knowledgeable Matt for once.
Yeah. I mean, it was just. I remember when because you said to me on the day, "Oh, it's rain. It's going to rain. This might make Monaco a better race," and it probably turned out to be the worst I've ever watched. Especially with Alonso, the Alonso Hamilton thing just completely summed up the track. You can go 3, 4, even 5 seconds slower than the driver behind you, but there's no chance of you overtaking as long as he doesn't make a mistake.
Yeah, you're right, and that was part of it. The way they did it, it's just there's a lot of things to it, unfortunately, and it was just not good. Because it's just yeah, it's an nail in coffin. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Be honest.
Yeah. Now this track, I think we've had our arguments for in the past,
Uh
um,
huh.
and I think we'll have our arguments for in this part because I love this track. I think it's unique, special. I understand it has its faults at times, but I like this track, and I know you don't. So where would you put it? And I'll kind of explain where I'll put it, and then I think we'll leave this and address some of the comments. And if anyone is able to comment, they kind of get the final decision potentially.
I'm on the bin it. I hate it. Destroy it. Never be seen again. Get rid of it. I just don't like it at all. I don't like the circuit. I don't like the surroundings. I do not like how it's been designed. The only thing I liked was the little corner for the castle, and that's it. And but I am not saving the track for the little corner of the castle. Get rid of it. Bin it. Don't want it.
Wayne. Do you know? The thing is, I've enjoyed. I don't know whether it's because nearly every Grand Prix at Azerbaijan has been controversial in a different way, and we've had a lot of controversial moments there. But it's just I seem to like the track. Yes, it may not be the best track, and it probably does need improvement. But I do like the track. I like the look of the track. I've enjoyed the races that have been there. It might not be because of the track that I enjoy it. It might just be that the races that have been there happen to be good for one reason or another in terms of tire degradation, etc., like that. But you know what? I am gonna let you have this one in mind that I might get one later on.
Yeah, because obviously San Marino and everything. Yeah, it will be fair.
So we'll kind of leave it like that, and then future tracks I may get my way a little bit.
Yeah,
So
well, you might. Yeah, Canada now, isn't it? Now this is the one that I like to talk about.
I actually don't know your opinion on Canada. I think this is one of my tracks that I would nearly consider an elite. I feel like you're going to disagree. I accidentally echoed
No,
you.
I actually feel like it's elite as well. It's one of those tracks I'm always looking forward to. It's memorable for me. It's the atmosphere as well in Montreal. It's just so. It's one of those circuits. If I could ever go to, I would love to go to and to experience it. Um, and the Wall of Champions, man, the Wall of Champions is just for me that
It's one of
speaks volumes.
it's one of the best corners of possibly Formula One in general. I think we talk. There's us talking about the fucking castle, but the Wall of Champions. It's the diff. It looks so simple, but it's not, and
How
that's
many
what's
times
great
do they
about it.
miss that corner or they go for the corner and it's just too late, or they just bow out on that corner because they know they're not going to make it? It is one of those. Oh yeah,
I'm trying to think. Has Lewis ever gone into that corner before?
I think he has.
Because
Well, I think he has when McLaren days.
I know Max has crashed into it before, and that's not a surprise.
No, but I think he
Yeah,
has in McLaren days because obviously Michael has, Alonso has,
Vettel
Villeneuve
has.
have. So I believe
Yeah,
Hamilton
I
has
mean,
done it.
it takes the best of them, let alone everyone
Rightly.
else. Um, I am going to put it in elite because I think when it rains, it's brilliant. It's a decent track anyway with corners, good overtaking. There's always drama at Canada, and it has one of the best. Yeah, I'm just it's going in elite. I'm already looking. I think I have my three already, and then I'm considering other ones. I'm just like I'm starting to get stuck already on that, but we'll get to that as we go through. Moving on to our home Grand Prix. Um, I don't care if it sounds patriotic, but I'm putting it elite.
I wouldn't put elite. I'll put it as good track because we do have some good Grand Prix there, but sometimes we do have some dull ones. But it's majority of the time it is good. But I wouldn't put it as elite. It's not something I'm thinking. I've had moments where I'm thinking just change it to Donington or Brand Hatch or something. Change it different. Do something different.
I'm
Do
thinking
you know
because
what I mean?
I just think because I think the last 4 or 5 years I think we've had some very good races.
Yeah,
I
we've
think
had
we
some good
have,
races. I'm not going to sit and say we haven't because we have, but it's like, but that's, but it's not always because of the track. It's sometimes because of the team decisions that we've had that good racing. So like for me, I just can't. I've got to say good. I'm not going to say it's elite because there's other tracks there that I'm in that boat, but it's
all right.
not.
Do you know what? Because we both don't agree on it. We'll put it into good, and then we'll see towards the end if I can sneak it back in.
Yeah.
We'll move on to Austria. Now, I don't like Austria at all, and it's nothing to do with it being called the Red Bull Ring and the fact that Red Bull predominantly love that track. But I just I don't really like the track. I don't think it does well in terms of overtaking. I think it definitely one that I wouldn't bin it necessarily. I would put it in needs improvement. Um, but
I'm in the
yeah,
same boat with you
do you know
because
what? I might actually bin it. I feel I just because I'm salty, I feel like I might just bin it.
I know you're salty. Trust me, I know that. But no, it is a good track. You can have some good moments, but it's not. And when you're there, you're like, yeah, it's an Austrian Grand Prix, yeah. But it's not something you go, oh, is this? Can't wait for it. Let's go. It's not because you know what's going to happen. You know it's going to be the qualifying. Whoever gets pole, majority will win it.
And that's why I feel like it's almost Monaco. It's the Monaco of non-street circuits.
Yeah, I can agree with that certain statement, but I wouldn't say it's a binner. I would say it's more if they could do improvements on it, because they can do improvements. It's not like they haven't got the room to do it. It can be gone. It can be all right, and it can be in the middle. But I wouldn't put it as bin. I don't know if you agree with me.
Mm, it's
How many can we put in bin? Because I know we should have three in the top.
I mean, technically, you can bin as many tracks as you want.
Because we can talk about what ones we can replace it with afterwards, can't we?
Yes,
I tell you what, we put in the bin because like you're salty.
it's not just that. I just do. As I said, it is the Monaco of non-street circuits to me. It's not even just the Red Bull. The Red Bull part is just an extra bone. Top. It's that cherry on top. But
Yeah.
um, I personally I see Austria and I'm just like I remember what was that? Was it last year or the year before we had two Austrian Grand Prix?
Year before it was COVID, wasn't it? And we had to
I
start
I
with for it,
I,
and then we've done another one after.
I was absolutely fuming. I was like, it's bad enough seeing it once, let alone seeing it twice. Honestly. And then did they call it the Strian Grand Prix?
Yeah, something like that. So
I was like,
it's
well, just put it in the bin. If you're gonna put it twice, definitely put it in the bin.
if we say that
Um,
Silson should be the bin then.
Well, no, but Silverstone is.
You
No,
know, with that
it's
logic, with that
no, but
logic, what you just said.
no, but no, I mean in terms of if you're going to put a bad track on it twice, then put it in the
All
bin.
right. You
If
can't
it,
say that, but you said if
like,
you put it on twice, it should
like,
be
if
the
you were to
bin.
put
That's why I
if you were
said
to put on
it.
if you were to put on Canada every week, that would just be the best in the world. But there you go. Well, especially when it's raining. But we'll move on to Le Français, the Paul Ricard. Um,
Mm,
practicing my French. I don't like Paul Ricard.
same.
Personally. Um, I don't, I've never really enjoyed. I actually thought this year's Paul Ricard was actually quite decent.
Yeah, but I'd rather manicure. I'd rather go back to manicure,
Yeah, I think
personally.
there's other there's other French tracks that are better, and there's other tracks that I look at and are just better as well. So as much as it's named after Paul Ricard, I would consider Bin,
Yeah.
and I think both of us are happy with that fairly. Now the next one is one that I think we're gonna have a little argument about Hungary.
Okay.
Now I know a lot of people don't like Hungary, but I've got quite a soft spot for Hungary. I know the overtaking cut is it's a what I like about Hungary is it's it's you don't get too much overtaken, but it's a challenging circuit. You do always need to be kind of on your toes. It's a very technical circuit that you there's a lot of different corners that are in there. It creates a lot of different opportunities, and I do think it's one of them ones like kind of Belgium, like Canada, like Singapore. The weather can really change the Grand Prix very very much, and it does create that kind of extra extra spice to the track as well.
Mm,
I wouldn't say it's elite. I wouldn't say it's good because it does have some stinkers, but I would personally put it in an average track. But it's
same.
very enjoyable.
I'm actually saying with you. I think it's true. I think it's a bad rep. It can be a dull race, but majority of the time it can be actually quite interesting. And when it comes to the technical side of it, with the cars, it is a technical drive set. And if you ask any driver, they will say that as well. They say how technical it is. So
That's
yeah, it's
why.
probably in the middle.
That's why I think I remember Lewis Hamilton saying before one of his favourite tracks to drive is Hungary because it tests your limits.
Mm,
Um, I think I remember when I was doing like kind of listed naming the tiers. As soon as I put average track but enjoyable, the first track that came to my mind was Hungary instantly. So
yeah,
I kind of named that after Hungary. So I think I was always going to try and put Hungary in that one, whether you
yeah.
agreed or not. Um, I'm glad we both are on the same wavelength of it, actually.
I don't think it will be now, but go on.
Oh no, I am just going to put mine where it should be. I know you're
No,
going to disagree.
yeah,
I love this track. I think it's one of the best Grand Prix on the calendar. Full stop. Behind Canada. This is nothing to do with the shirt that I'm wearing at all. But I think again, it's one of them ones like Canada with the rain, the weather. Apart from last year where it just poured and poured and poured and poured, and we didn't get going, which I found was a little bit ridiculous. But there you go. But
I'm not.
I think it's a lovely track. I think I've always enjoyed watching the Belgian Grand Prix. It's created some fantastic moments. It's very certain parts of it. The first few corners are very challenging, exciting, and it's always an exciting one to watch people drive. I'm going to try and put it in elite. I know Wayne's going to disagree.
It's a bin.
You're going to put it in the bin? No, I am going to veto that straight. I was holding the veto especially for this. But explain why you put it in the bin.
It's dangerous. I mean, lately there's been a lot of people in serious car accidents, not just in the Formula One, but in actual motorsports at this track. And last year you saw with Lando, and I've got, I don't like that. I don't like the fear. You've got to have fear of your life depends on it and on a circuit. And for me, it's just too long. It's the longest circuit there is in Formula One, and I don't enjoy it anymore. I used to, but now I'm understanding Formula One more. it's just a circuit that I can think of. There's a circuit that's just come on, and we'll probably go into it in a minute. In that area of the country, we've been taken. So I'd rather that be the main aiming than Belgium. I think Belgium it's had good Grand Prix. I can remember the 1997 one very well, but I can't. I just can't. No, it's not really for me. It's a bin it or it needs improvement. You can't go
I
any further than that.
I understand. I understand partially the safety aspect. I do get that it's very obviously that first corner, as exciting as it is, it isn't the most safest uh, corner ever. But I think Formula One there has always been a risk in the motorsport, and I think drivers do know that. Drivers take that. That is kind of the general contract, general idea when you race it. It as some drivers have said, it could be your last. And I think the safety of Formula One and the safety precautions they put on the cars, put in um, put in the safety regulations. I think Formula One has never been any safer. And I can understand your hesitation with it, but I think the enjoyment I get out the track, and I think the enjoyment other people get out the track. I think it's safe enough to still keep on. I don't think it's dangerous enough to say it's 100%. I don't think it's dangerous enough just on the safety aspect just to bin it. I understand it is quite a long track, but I like quite long. I'm someone that I don't like a lap that's only like with Monza. I do love Monza. I like Monza as a track, but I don't like. I get annoyed that it's so short. And in a way, they do decrease the laps to make it a similar time for the rest of the races anyway. So it's you're getting the same distance effectively overall in the Grand Prix. You're just lowering the laps a little bit.
Look,
Personally, I go on.
I'll make a comment. We won't put in bin it, but we're not having it up the top. It's either going to be in that middle bit or the low just below it.
I'm going to put it as high as I possibly can and put it in average but enjoyable. But okay, yeah. I mean, we're gonna agree. I think we're gonna agree on the next one because I personally, it's one of my new tracks that I've loved that has come into it, which is Zandvoort, Netherlands.
Yeah,
Obviously, in terms of the newer cars, it's only been in for one season, so it's hard to judge off one race. But obviously, we've seen it before in other racing styles outside of Formula One. We've seen it in Formula One before. Where would you put Zandvoort?
good track. It's for me. It's one of the best moves they've made. Not just because of that Verstappen, because that is his home country, and he does get a lot. You can see last year was unbelievable. The support in Formula One for it, and I think it is a big step for Formula One. But it's how their circuit is that little the roller coaster corner, what I call it. And there's other little nicks and crannies at the circuit. What really excites me, the corners and everything. So yeah, for me, it's a good track.
See, I'm looking at the tracks we've got remaining, and considering I've had two of my other tracks that I was going to put up there as gone, I know it's a bit early to say, but do we put it in elite?
For me, I'm looking
Is
at the
there an argument
circuit.
for it?
There's two. There's still my two in that needs to go on top.
Okay, that's fine.
So
We'll put it in.
so what about if we put it there, and the two I believe can go on top? If one of them you disagree with, and you don't believe it's similar to me, we'll swap. Is
Yeah,
that
that's
fair?
fine. That is fine, and maybe we'll do a thing where we'll put it in a little poll in the community section after the video to see some of these ones that we have disagreed on
Yeah,
emphatically. We'll see what the general population, the general listeners think. But yeah, I think Zambor, I would agree with you, the best decision Formula One have made in a long time. But I'd argue actually it's probably not hard considering how many bad decisions they've made over the last couple of years. But let's go on to the next track, and a track that is historic. Father would love Forza Ferrari, the home of Ferrari, effectively at the moment. Monza. Um, I like Monza. I think it's simple, and I think I have heard from some people that it's too simple. But I always find it produces a great race. I think the atmosphere is fantastic. I do think it's a tad too short, but I think overall, I think it's a very good track, personally. And that's where
same
I.
with me. I wouldn't put it as an elite. It's not there for me yet, but it is a very good circuit, and we do have a lot of good races. And for heaven's sake, my team was 1 and 2 last year in it, so I'm not going to disagree with you. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's got to be in good track for me.
Yeah, I think that was nice and easy. I have heard other people say that they don't enjoy it so much. That it's just basically loads of long straights. But I think I personally enjoy it. I think it's the corners it's got. The corners are good, and it provides a nice bit of overtaking. Obviously, last year I didn't enjoy it for specific reasons, and I had a lot of arguments with a lot of Red Bull fans that weekend. But it is what it is. The race in general was quite nice. We move on to Singapore, which is what I would call is the original night race, because now there are other races that go into the night. But this one, for me, is the original night race. Where would you put Singapore? Because I understand this is one that people also have a bit of controversy to.
For me, it's elite. It's one of those Grand Prix circuits I always look forward to. And when it came off the circuit, I was so disappointed. And now it's back on. I am buzzing. I can't wait for it to come around. Um, it's one of those circuits. I fell in love with it. First time I saw it, I just fell in love with the circuit.
Hmm. I think I predict what your two elite ones are now.
Okay, go on.
No, I'll leave it for the. I won't spoil it for the
You know,
listeners.
this is elite one for me, Singapore, and there's one more, but you won't know that till it comes. But
Yeah, I think I'm looking at I'm looking at it now, and I think I know which one you're talking about.
you can do it in
I
private chat
I
if you want.
actually thinking about it now. You've said it. I actually and thinking about the track. I actually do agree with you. I think I've always loved Singapore for the fact that it's a night race. It's not so much the track; it's the night aspect of it. It's got that special,
Feeling.
yeah. I've always enjoyed it. It's not the best track in terms of overtaking, like other street circuits. It's not the best, but like Hungary, it's also a very technical track. I know just from racing on Formula One 2022 or the Formula One games. Singapore is always one I hate because I always have to rewind a little bit because I've just gone into a corner stupidly because you take a line off a little bit and you're in the wall somewhere. Um, but it is a nice track to watch. So I
For
am.
me, it's the best street race there is on the calendar.
Yes. I generally don't like street races, and I think with some of the street races are down the bottom. I think we both kind of are agreeant on the street races in general. But yeah, I am going to put it in elite for now. And I'm gonna think that's what I'm thinking about because I keep flip flop between good track and elite at the moment, but I'll put it in elite just for now. So these three for you guys in the comment section, they're definitely not locked in yet. We'll, I no doubt, get to some of these, and we'll probably decide maybe not, maybe take one out, but we'll get to that at the point we go. Next up, Japan. Wayne, Japan has been one that has been a bit emotional. Obviously, you had the Jules Bianchi moment, which caused a lot of change in regulation in terms of tractors on the Grand Prix. And it is a track that can be prone to, when it rains, you're getting a lot of different people coming out, a lot of cars going into each other, a lot of cars going off in the same corner, as we've seen before in previous races. Where would you put this race?
I'm not. The thing is, like, we have Fiji was in there as well, and Fiji was even worse.
I remember watching races from Fiji and I hated it.
Yeah. So it's not like today. Japan has always been good at circuits. They've always had in motorsports wise, they've got a connection. But I'm just never been, not just because of the emotional fact of it, but it's one of those circuits where I haven't been it. But it will be either an average or need to improve circuit for me. It's not been exciting, and it's not. Do you get what I'm saying? It's got one of those feelings with it where it could go either medium, good race, or bad.
Yeah, I mean, I really like this track. In general, I really enjoyed the track. Before the Jules Bianchi incident, I enjoyed some of the corners in the track. Again, the weather. I always like it when weather puts a different perspective in it, because it's always nice to see how teams are adapting. And I think rain is always something that always creates a good mix in it. But since the Bianchi incident, I feel nervous watching the Grand Prix a little bit. Now, if this does go back down to the safety, I don't necessarily think it's an unsafe track. I just, when you've seen a moment on there, and I think with you, kind of Norris, I think you maybe with the Belgian Grand Prix is a little bit similar. You're almost nervous watching certain parts of it because you're worried, will something happen again. I would, before the Jules Bianchi incident, I would have put it in good track. But I would agree with you. I would put it potentially at average.
Or need to improve.
Yeah, I think there are improvements they can make to it. So there is a thought of potentially putting it in there, but I think it is enjoyable enough that I would put it in there.
That's fair on me.
That's fair. That's fine. Now moving on to the other American track, going down to the land of the Cowboys, Austin, Texas. Wayne, it's a track I really like. Out of the two Americans, at least, the American tracks, at least, and it has produced some moments. It's got some nice corners for me, and Mercedes have traditionally done quite well at it, so this might be a little bit of bias going into it. What do you think of Austin? Because I've not really spoken to many people about how much actually people like this track at all.
For me, it's the other elite. It was my main one. I love it. Every time I'm always glued to the TV for it. The entertainment value, the fact of the celebrities all come out and how big it is, and the corners as well. It's not like it's not one dimensional. There's so much different corners and different ways they're going to drive through it all. So it's a big thing for me. I love it. I love the track, and it's one of my favourites.
Now that did shock me because I didn't think this would be the track you put in the league.
What did you thought I was going to do?
I thought he was going to put Brazil.
No.
I wouldn't put it in the league. I would put it good, but I don't think it's. I don't know. It just doesn't seem. I don't think it has enough for me to put it in the league.
Okay. Well, I'll let you put that in a good track because it is a good track. We'll put that there. But this one, Mexico, was my either good or elite. I'm in the middle because I love the Mexico one as well.
I'm happy. I was going to put it in good anyway because I love the stadium corners. I love
Mm.
that. I love that. It's the one of the best podiums on the circuit. I do like the track. It shouldn't be good at overtaking, but it is. So that's always nice as well. Yeah, I generally think it's quite a good track. Again, I wouldn't say. I'd actually say it's closer than Austin on the elite because it does have that special kind of where Canada has the Wall of Champions. Zandvoort has that almost roller coaster like corner, as you mentioned. Singapore has that nightlife effect, that atmosphere, and then Mexico has that kind of stadium,
Yeah.
podium, stadium corner. So it's got something unique that puts it above the rest. So I'd say it's if it was between America and Mexico, I would put it in there, but I wouldn't put it
Would you
over.
put Mexico above any of the ones we've got on there?
That's what I was going to say. I'd probably say no, but
Yeah.
it's harsh on Mexico because it would be up. It would definitely be up there.
Yeah.
I do find what as we can kind of see, the beginning part of the calendar is actually probably the worst part, and you get to the end of it and it's exciting because
Yeah. Yeah. I've just noticed that.
a lot of the second half and mid ones are all at the top. Apart
Yeah.
from Australia, all of them are second half of the season
Yeah.
or mid. The first 5-6 races are all down here. I mean, Bahrain is the best one, and even then we were kind of debating that.
Oh, we've got Brazil next, don't we?
Yes. No, I love Brazil, and it's not because Lewis Hamilton loves Brazil. I've always it's not even just the memory I have of Lewis's first world championship there. I just think Brazil again. As you can tell as a theme, I do like tracks with rain. Um, I do think it's a track that's challenging. I do think it's a track that provides again that weather element, and I just thoroughly enjoy the tracks normally. Um, I don't know what you. I have a feeling you're going to disagree, but
I'm on the average because there's good races and there've been some dull ones. So I agree with you with a lot of it. But I'm just not. Brazil's always been on the circuit, but now when it comes to South America, I don't think of that as the best circuit. It's always going to be Mexico. Do you get what I'm saying?
yeah, I think Mexico. That's the thing with some of these Grand Prix. It's almost they probably would have been higher, but in terms of their regions, but because another tracks come in and almost pipped it, it
Yeah,
almost lowers it down in the estimation. I would put it in average because just for the fact that it looks a bit nicer than having loads of good and then less average.
yeah,
So even you should most of the Formula One tracks really should be in between the average good and a couple of elite.
yeah,
And it does make these eight tracks a little bit less embarrassing.
yeah. Well, this one's going to be interesting because I know where I'm putting this.
I'll let you decide. I'll let you have your opinion on where the final Grand Prix should be.
It's definitely going to be a Bennett.
Oh, I would put it in. I was going to put it in needs improvement, but I kind of understand why you'd want to bin it.
It's never been entertaining. And for being the last race, the only reason why it's the last race is because where it is in Dubai. Not because of it being a good race or being a good circuit. It's just because of Dubai. And the only thing that's good about it is the coming out of the pits and a little circuit, the bit they've got there. That's the only thing that's good about the circuit, and that's it.
See, it's tough because I'm also judging it because I've actually been to the racetrack as well, but in person. So it's almost a bit of a not a bias, but it's a different perspective as well.
Yeah,
I would because I'm looking at other tracks that are in needs improvement, and I'd say I wouldn't say they're worse than them. So I would Personally, I would put it in needs improvement.
All right,
Um,
that's fair with me.
just because otherwise I feel like I'd put then Saudi in bin it, I'd put Barcelona in bin it, and probably Miami in bin it otherwise.
Yeah, oh, no, it's fine. I agree with you. It's fine.
And just because
So
I
we're done.
do, so that is what is the current calendar. Going back, looking at the elite, Canada, Zandvoort, Singapore,
Are you happy?
I would keep it as it is.
I'm
Uh,
happy with that.
I think I think Zandvoort is going to be some of the one that people may disagree because I think they might think, oh, it's only one race that we can really properly judge it on. Should it be get a leak just because of that? But I just love the track. I think it's one of the it's innovative. It's unique in its own way, and I think that's what makes a Formula One track. As we've mentioned, with most of these tracks that are up in this top section, Mexico, Austin to a point, Singapore, Zandvoort, Canada, even Silverstone to effect in terms of the atmosphere. That there's unique parts of the track that put it higher than put it above
Mm.
the rest. That's why that I think that's you've got to have something to stand out, and I find you could probably tell looking at these tracks compared to these tracks. There's nothing in any of these tracks down here that stand out.
Mm.
And maybe if there was something, they might go up into either an average or good. But I think that's I think kind of the template that I think Formula One and the FIA need to have a look at when they're deciding what tracks they want in the calendar. Is there something um, that makes you want to makes you that is unique that no other race calendar has?
Mm.
And unfortunately, I don't think any of the bottom four do. I don't really think any of the bottom five do. The next five do. And even obviously, I wouldn't get rid of any of the average tracks, but even some of the average tracks are quite plain.
Mm.
But I would still be happy to keep them in because I think getting rid of 9 tracks already would be a lot potentially, a big shake up. So I've got a few tracks that, well, Wayne, what I'll do is I'll let you first of all say we're the FIA now,
Yeah.
and we're going to bin Paul Ricard, we're going to bin Austria, we're going to bin Azerbaijan and Monaco. What 4 tracks would you like to see replacing and why?
Monaco, South Africa, because we need to get back. We need to go into the African market. We've been away from that for too long, and the circuit looks absolutely stunning. I had a look at the circuit the other day, and I think it'd be a great circuit for Formula One. So South Africa be the top one. Then the other 3 would probably be Malicourt for France. I wouldn't mind going back there. I think it'd be a nice circuit to go back to. Um, I would like to go back to Hoffenheim as well. Can't say if that's the way you're saying it.
Yeah.
I love to. I think we need to get back to Germany. A lot of the German brands we've got in our sport, we've been away from Germany too long. We need to have something there. And then, obviously, I know we've got Las Vegas coming,
Yeah,
but
we'll count Las Vegas out because it's obviously in the calendar next year anyway.
yeah, but there is. I'm in. There's 2 circuits where I'm not sure. Is either Turkey, but I'm not 100% on that, or actually no. I'll tell you what I want. Obviously, I've said Malicourt and Alpine and South Africa. I would like to go back to Malaysia.
Uh, funny enough, we are on the same boat. I was going to say Turkey. I was going to say for Germany. I think it's a thing where we did have that time where we were almost swapping between Hockenheim and the Nuremberg Ring.
Yeah.
Now, Germany do have a number of multiple tracks that are suited for F1. There's so many racetracks in Germany. This is why I'm bemused that we're not in Germany. Whether it is Hockenheim, Nuremberg any of the other tracks, I think it'd be nice to spice up the calendar, that we say it's the German Grand Prix, but where the German Grand Prix is depends on what year. One year it'll be Hockenheim, one year it'll be Nuremberg.
So it's like the golf, like doing the Open, it's always a new venue, different year.
Yeah.
Similar to
Yeah.
that. So that's because you're right. Because if anyone is watching this, watch DTM. If you watch DTM, you see they go around Germany, a lot of the circuits, and the circuits they've got there are brilliant. And the atmosphere is great as well. So it's a market we need to get now into and try and get back into Germany.
My only worry is we're running out of German drivers again.
Vettel, you've got Mick.
I'm worried if Mick is carrying the German flag in terms of Formula One. I know you like Mick, but
No, I appreciate how much he's improving, because you can't deny this year he's been absolutely brilliant and much he's proved. He's done a lot of good stuff.
He's been better. I think it was almost a sink or swim year, and I think he's at least paddling on the surface still.
I think with Kevin Magnussen being his partner, I think it's helped him with some experience. He's been there, done it, and he can guide him. I think that's what he needs. I think Vettel, I'm not sure on this, but I think he said he's going to be he's like coach mentor after he's retired with Mick to help him.
That would be good.
He's going to have a great person he's even got his dad, but he's going to have someone great now to look after him. I think he's just going to go up a notch. But no, I agree with you. I don't know if it's going to be enough. I don't think there's any really German drivers coming up in the sport either. So
I don't really understand why. I don't really understand why, if I'm honest.
No, it's one of the things when we was younger. You always knew there's a German driver coming from somewhere. So it is a bit of a surprise, but we'll have to wait and see. But what else? What's your other one? Because you obviously said.
So South Africa, one of the German Grand Prix, Malaysia and Turkey.
Okay. So you wouldn't have Manicourt. You wouldn't have a Grand Prix in France at all.
I would take it out for now, but I would consider highly I would get rid of Miami and add France back in if I had the choice by my own.
But let's say Miami and we swap it for Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and obviously we're talking about circuits, and one of the circuits we're talking about is obviously Malaysia. Would you swap the Dubai for Malaysia?
I would be more inclined to actually swap Spain, personally.
Okay. All right.
And again, with this idea, we could put Spain as the testing track and have testing as a bit more of an open, like our football teams have an open training session.
Yeah.
Where we.
All right. I tell you what we do. We've got our ideas of what's going on. What would be your starting Grand Prix and what would be your ending Grand Prix?
I'd start it in Australia because I think that's what we're always used to. I do like the start in Australia. And I'd end, just because of the night thing, I'd end it in Singapore.
Okay. See, I would start it in
like fireworks aspects as kind of a final finish, kind of.
Yeah. See, for me, I would start it in Australia, 100%. I would end it in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, that is a good point. That could be a good idea.
Because if it's like happened last year with Verstappen and Hamilton, if that happens again, and you can literally promote it as gambling, finding guys who's going to gamble, Las Vegas, it just, for me, it writes itself. So that's why I would do it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do like kind of the Singapore. I do like one of the things with Abu Dhabi that I have liked. I like the fact that you get the fireworks, you get the kind of celebrating in the night with nightlight, the night sky, and all that. So that's why I kind of naturally hindered towards Singapore. But I can understand Las Vegas as well when we get into. Obviously, the thing is, Las Vegas, we don't know what the track's going to be like, so that
Yeah,
would be my theory question around it at the moment. But we'll kind of leave it as that for now. Get this off. There you go. So it's been an hour and 20 minutes, which I we did have we had a lovely discussion in it, and hopefully for the people that are watching now, people who are watching after, they can make some comments down below about what you agree with, what you don't agree with, whether it's you agree with me, you agree with Wayne. I think the controversial ones are kind of the Belgium. Um, Trying to think what else was on there. It was controversial. Japan was one we were
Miami.
speaking about. Miami. Um, I know I know you're going to get some certain people on the Red Bull side that are going to say about Austria, Paul Ricard, potentially,
Yeah,
and then I think Zandvoort as elite. I think that will be one that will be questioned just because of the newness of it. But you guys, let us know in the comment section after the stream or in the comments now, and we will get to it. I'll be kind of watching it after. I'm sure Wayne will be paying attention after. We will put some community polls up on some of the questions, some of the big topic points we had in this, so we can get your opinions, and you can also put some comments down there. So Wayne, thank you for coming on for what was a wonderful stream and the first that we've done that's not been an actual race properly.
it's been really good, and I would like to ask people in the chat as well. Obviously, we'll give our own ideas what to do next. But if you would like to do another tier list, and what would you like to do a tier list on? We're more welcome to listen to ideas, because while we can do it and while we're not busy, because obviously it depends on work and stuff, we'll always come on here and give you our opinions. And hopefully we get bring the other guys on as well to get more opinions on the topics.
Definitely, definitely. I think I did have in mind now that I don't know the way I want to do it. Obviously, there is the idea of potentially doing a current driver lineup um, of just a tier list, and then there was also an idea of doing a tier list of Formula One champions, which I think will cause a lot of controversial opinion.
Yeah, I've enjoyed that, but we need if we did that, we need to get the full panel, and we can't just do it me and
Yeah,
you.
yeah, we do need a big panel with that, and I think I am going to get some collaborations for that. My plan is to do that one in the because now I thought one thing I find stupid this season at the moment is because Sochi's not here, which obviously it's there not there for a good reason. We've got another 2-3 week break. Like I think
Yeah,
we've got is it Belgium and one Zandvoort, and then it's back to another 2-3 week break. It's just like,
yeah,
couldn't you put Turkey in again this year?
they could have
Turkey
done.
not ready, like
They
because
could have done it. They could have done loads of Grand Prix circuits. They could have put in just for now. Even
yeah,
Portugal,
yeah,
it's over them.
yeah. I mean, it's a bit strange, but it will give us time to do more. So we'll probably get one done potentially next weekend, maybe at the weekend, or if not Monday evening, or in the weekday. We'll see how we get on. We'll let you know in advance because I know for this one I was a bit confused in terms of obviously I had you down Wayne, but couldn't get anyone else held down, so I didn't want to put a time and then if you had to obviously with your mum's birthday had to pull out, then I didn't want to say we're doing a stream this time and then not do one. But we will make sure we'll get a time down when we want to do it, and then we'll post it a couple of days before, day before, on the community post. So make sure you check the channel every other day, because we'll try and plan what times we're going to do the streams, just so it's a bit more clarity for you guys and so you can check us out. So thank you for all listening. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to Worldwide F1. This is Matt. This is Wayne Moulds signing out. And the countdown's not working, typical. Let me try again. There you go.